Hello, and welcome to the My Hope Story podcast from Hope Community Church Ballanark. Stories of hope, all about Jesus.
Who are we, but sinners saved by grace?
Hello.
Hello.
It's been a couple of weeks since we've had this, and you are a long-awaited guest.
What's that?
Everyone's been wanting to hear your story, so I hope it's going to be good.
No pressure.
I hope there's not going to be tears. So Cara put this here in case there's going to be tears.
Well,
Not from me
I'm
though.
hoping he's going to cry.
Well, yeah. Maybe
I put one here just for show.
Maybe out of boredom I cry, but... So, we'll go back to the start with you once you tell us who you are. And then you can just crack on with you as a child and growing up and so on and so forth.
I am still a child.
Okay, so who are you then?
My name is Cara Bell, and I am married to Pete Bell.
The good Pete?
Is that your defining characteristic?
Yeah, that is. That's my identity. And yeah, we're here in Ballanark at Hope Community Church, and we've been here for a few years. Planting here, got 3 boys. That's another defining feature of my life, and a dog.
Which is the most important part, the dog.
He saved my life today, actually.
Why don't we start on that?
Well, I was drinking some tea. As you know, it can be quite treacherous when you drink tea, and went down the wrong way, and he got really upset and jumped into the bath for no reason.
And that saved your life?
Well, that made me laugh, so I think that helped.
Okay. So if anyone wants to do a YouTube tutorial on how to drink tea to help Cara out, I'm sure she would appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to baby Cara. Where did you grow up?
I was born in Inverness. My parents still live in the same house as the one I grew up in. Christian family, like parents have always been believers, and I guess I also was brought up going to church, so I also kind of believed in stuff. So, and I've got a brother who's a year and a half older than me. Who else do you want to know?
That's a good start. Very detailed to start with. Actually, just go back to your introduction. No one ever actually introduced themselves and who their family was.
All right.
So you're the only one that's actually went in detail with that.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
You must actually like Pete and your children. So that's good.
I just like to give more information than less. I think like more is more.
Well, we'll be here at midnight.
No,
Okay.
please stop me.
So you grew up in Inverness. For those people that aren't Scottish or don't know Scotland, Inverness is in the north of Scotland,
Yes,
up in the Highlands.
this is the Highlands.
Okay. So you grew up in a Christian household. Would you say you enjoyed going to church as a child, or was it forced upon you?
Oh, I think I always remember believing in God, but I don't know that I was necessarily. I didn't have saving faith. I don't think then, but there was things about church that definitely I found a drag, and like I do remember being a bit like confused by things, and I don't ever remember being dragged out the door to church, but
Okay.
I know I moaned about it into my latter years, like teenage years and stuff, probably.
Okay. So you mentioned there was things that you were maybe confused about.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we start there?
Yeah, well, I'm so confused.
Ain't we all?
Just confused at different things now. I think I just, misunderstood a lot about the gospel, hadn't grasped the major things. I think I knew God existed, that God created the world, that he loved me, and I just didn't really understand what the cross was about. I didn't understand why that was needed. I thought it was a big mistake, and why couldn't God have stopped that if he was God? You know, that kind of thing. So
Good questions.
yeah.
Very good questions. Questions we probably get asked daily as Christians.
Yeah. And I also thought one Christmas that Jesus had just been born.
Okay.
So I might have been like, 8? But I was like, what? It didn't just happen.
Wait a minute, you were 8. I was expecting you to say you were like...
Okay, maybe I was young. I don't know. Maybe younger. Let's say I was 5.
Until Pete tells us it was last week.
Come on. You're not meant to shame your interviewees.
Okay. Well, it's banter, Cara.
Is it though?
Yeah. So, okay. So you didn't really understand the gospel, but you believed in God.
Yeah.
What was school life like for you in primary?
Well, weird. Actually, probably weirder than most because I went to a Gaelic primary school.
Okay.
So
Yep.
it was fully like that was the language we spoke there.
So what's Gaelic?
Gaelic is the Scottish language, original Scottish language.
That's English.
Are there no Scottish tongue?
Yes.
Okay.
So my mum's family are all from Lewis, which used to be very primarily Gaelic speaking, less so now. My dad has always been a sort of language fanatic and really wanted his kids to grow up bilingual, so it made sense to send us me and my brother to a Gaelic school.
Interesting.
So we were fairly near the beginning of this new primary school in Inverness, so we were kind of not quite guinea pigs, but pretty near the start of being guinea pigs.
So is that quite common up north?
More so now, yeah. There's much more, I think, money being put into it now than there was then. But I mean, it was still well put together, and you know, we were well educated, as you can see. But I think I struggled. I would have struggled at school anyway. But I think that there was possibly other things that were added into the mix because of language barriers and things.
No, that's pretty cool. I would have definitely preferred that over learning French in school. I don't actually know anything about French or any French words, but yeah, I think that would be pretty cool.
Je ne comprends pas.
Nope.
No.
Can you speak any Gaelic still?
Rutbeck. Gaan je me gemaakt en is.
There we go.
That's offensive, Cara.
It's impressive. I have no idea what it was, but it's impressive.
Yeah. I'm glad we didn't do this interview in Gaelic because I would have struggled.
Yeah. I mean, you'd come in handy when BBC Alba's on, so you can translate the football.
Aye, yeah.
So, would you have had any kind of religious studies or anything in primary school?
Actually, I think maybe because up in the islands there's a lot of Christian, like it's through and through, like kind of Christian heritage there as well. So like a lot of the teachers who were native Gaelic speakers, and a lot of them were from like Harris and Lewis, actually were believers themselves.
Okay,
so
cool.
they taught us. We had a Bible time at school, so and we used to pray in the mornings and like do the Lord's Prayer in Gaelic. Not I can remember how to say it in Gaelic.
So would that have been known as a kind of Christian school, or was it?
No, not at all. I think it was just the people, the majority of the teachers would have just held to, whether or not they were, necessarily saved, I don't know it, but certainly they would have held to some sort of belief, and Christianity was very much part of primary school life, and our assemblies were very Christian focused. We've got a lot of Bible stories, a lot of Christian songs, which is actually a blessing that I probably haven't really considered very much.
Yeah,
Like,
no, I mean, as I was going to say, that could have been such a blessing for you.
Yeah, I never really thought about that until now. Like, yeah, that's actually a good thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's cool. Would you have spoke Gaelic the whole time there, or were you allowed to speak English as well?
Well, we did speak English in the playground, but we would have somebody out there policing, saying, "Bring Gaelic, bring
That was
Gaelic."
brilliant.
Not that we were like, it sounds a bit rough and horrible, but no, it wasn't like that. It was just kind of, they were trying to encourage us to socialise in Gaelic as well as English, so.
Cara, the wee rebel running about the primary, trying to speak English.
Yes, I know. As if, socialising when you're young isn't hard enough, but.
So, would you have spoke only English at home? Was your parents no Gaelic or anything?
My dad spoke Gaelic to my brother and I,
Okay.
and well, most of the time, because I think he was really wanting to. He had a conscience about that. Like, if he's going to send us to a Gaelic school, then he should be speaking to us. And Mum understood perfectly well Gaelic. She was able to help with a lot of homework and things like that. but generally we spoke English with her for whatever reason. Like it's fine. Like
Oh, that's cool.
quite often we speak English to Dad and be like, "Can you make tuition?" which means I don't understand. Make us speak in Gaelic. So
No, that's cool. That's cool.
yeah,
It's
great.
interesting.
And it's a huge. Yeah, I'm so grateful for that.
Amazing. So when you were at school, were all your friends Christians or?
No. Actually, it was a huge mix of different kinds of folk in my class. Some folk were just local, like literally it was just the schools that were close to their home and the parents just sent them there. Also, their smaller classes got, I suppose, more like one-to-one time with a teacher. So, yeah, no, I try to think how many. Certainly now, there's maybe only one or two that I can really think of in our class that have kind of carried on
Okay.
in any sort of faith.
So it was mainly just because it was part of the school.
Yeah, and I hope they remember the stuff that we were taught. But
Cool.
yeah.
So what was church life like then, in your household?
Well, we went to. My mum and dad still attend the church that we used to go to, although it's moved now. It used to be called Torbrek, and it was just down the road from our house, so it was a local church to us. We actually met in a porta cabin for like years.
Wow.
Because like the house that we were in was like a wee kind of housey thing, just we got too big for it. So,
Okay.
and there was always plans to kind of get a building, and it just took forever. And then eventually, they got the money together and got a building at another location nearby. So,
Well, the church is the people anyway. It's not. The
yes,
building.
that's true.
So.
Thanks for that, Ants. Yes.
No, just not. Just for the viewers.
Yeah, no, I know you're too. So church life, yeah, I think it was. There was a split early on, but I was not aware really. I was too young to really understand why. I know that there was a lot of issues around music and different beliefs about how the spirit works and how we should conduct ourselves at church. So I was kind of not really aware of that. I just was aware of a lot of people being sad
Okay.
for a while. So yeah, that was difficult.
So was it quite traditional in the sense that you'd get your Sunday best clothes on and that kind of stuff?
No, it wasn't like pews and things. It was quite a relaxed kind of church. It was very family. There was a lot of families and kind of, I guess, modern music and right laid back services and like ish. It was. I mean, there was formality there. We did communion, we did baptisms, we did membership, things like that. It wasn't like complete free for all. It was just that it was a bit more relaxed than you're sitting in the pews, kind of.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with pews.
There's no wrong thing to say on this.
Okay.
No, whatever. Like,
Don't offend anybody.
Chris was already. He's already done all that. He's offended everybody that we can offend anyway, so it's fine.
Okay.
Okay. So would you have attended kind of Sunday school as a child then?
Yeah.
What's your memories of that?
Yeah, I remember colouring in. Like, I honestly don't really remember much, but that's because I've got a bad memory. It's nothing to do with anyone who taught me, but I do remember being a bit like, I don't know, like why do they always dress the same in these pictures and like why are they always wearing dressing gowns? And
To be fair,
didn't really get it. And
that's been quite a common theme throughout, and I think it is because just colouring in and doing arts and crafty stuff, and I suppose that's what children do. But okay.
Well, that's not a negative memory necessarily.
No.
It was just that's what I remember.
Yeah. It meant you were taken away from the adults who were paying attention to the actual sermon. So
That's true. It wasn't a distraction.
exactly. Maybe we should do that on a Sunday. Let's take you out.
That's a good idea.
Okay, so your brother, was he a Christian as well?
Well, he was brought up the same as me. Like, we both learned the same things. I do believe he believes. I'm not sure where he's at right now in his faith, but certainly, like, he's never been antagonistic to the gospel or anything like that.
Okay.
He actually went through a really. Is it okay to launch into another story?
Crack on.
I thought it's relevant to my brother's story anyway, because when he was 7, he fell ill, like really seriously ill, with some sort of virus to the brain. So
Yeah.
he ended up paralysed for like 3 months.
Wow.
And it's just like a bit of a nightmare, obviously. More than a bit of a nightmare, like it's an understatement of the year. So he was basically in Edinburgh hospital for 3 months, like having to, like he'd forgot everything basically. He knew who people were, but he'd forgotten how to speak, how to walk, how to move basically. So he had to learn all these things all over again. So that set him back big time with school stuff. And I believe also in his understanding of faith, maybe, I don't know, I'm not sure. So
Is he your older brother or younger?
Yeah, he's a year and a half older.
Okay, so how did that make you feel towards God? Because that must have been really challenging.
Well, I was only 5 at the time, and I just remember, again, not really, I didn't necessarily feel the impact of it in a sadness way for me, but because I just went with it. But I could see that it was making my parents sad, and I could see that it was sort of panic and things, but I think I largely just carried on as was, and watched a lot of films, and like, because my parents would always have been back and forth from the hospital, and I was getting babysat a lot by people, and I don't remember it being a negative time, which is a weird thing, because whenever I did visit Kieran, I do remember it being a positive experience, but again, I think largely nurses and doctors and my parents would have tried to make that a positive experience for me and not a scary one, because he had wires and like oxygen and things like that going on some of the time. So any encounter I did have with him was some fun stuff around it, and was toys involved, and like I'd try to make him smile, and then it's just like there's happy memories there. So I don't remember being scared or upset, but I think maybe felt a bit jealous at some point that he was getting all this attention, and because he got loads of cards from school, and like everyone's asking about Kieran, like as they should have been, so I guess as a sinful sibling, you're going to be like, me.
Absolutely. Okay. Wow, that must have been tough on your family.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's broken them, I think, but God has used it as well. Yeah,
Amazing. So I want to talk a wee bit about music, because you're quite a singer. How did that come around?
Well, actually, I think primary school as well. So I think we were part of a choir. Our class, we took part in the Mod. Have you heard of a Mod? Like a kind of Scottish-y, Gaelic based music festival type thing, or reading and creativity and so you could do a solo thing, or you could do a kind of choir thing. So quite often our class there's a lot of music people in our class actually. We used to take part in this every year, and we get really good sort of vocal training and things like that from some people who'd been involved in the Mod and things over the years. So that, I'm sure, that was part of what sparked an interest in music. Also my family, like my gran was a singer, my granny was a singer, so my aunties sing. So like, I think there's definitely kind of a blood thing there too.
Yeah, that's cool. And that's stuck with you, as we know, right through. So that's pretty cool. I'm sure we can get some stories about that later on.
Yeah. A lot of time spent with a hairbrush in my room as well. So
Okay. So, so when do you? I may be jumping ahead here. So if I am, just pull me back. When do you believe you were saved?
Yeah, I would be a bit further on into my mid-teens.
Okay.
And that's not to say I didn't have any meaningful moments of belief with. I don't know. I guess I'll not know till I get to heaven, but.
Yeah. So why don't we touch on because you'd mentioned earlier on you didn't really know the gospel, you kind of believed in God, but you didn't really know what the script was. When did those questions start getting answered then? Because I'm assuming that's before you're saved. Yeah,
well, yes, it must have been, but I don't remember dates of. I never remember dates anyway, but of when things like the cross became clear to me. But I don't necessarily think that was the moment that I suddenly believed. I think maybe things clicked into place over time. Largely, I think having a youth worker or an elder that was involved in the youth anyway, he really brought the Bible to life for me and the Gospels and Jesus and how real it was and how it wasn't just stories. And not that I thought it was made up or anything, but he was just, you know, like that these are real places, these are real people, and they're all connected, and that, you know, from beginning to end there's a thread going through. And I was like, man, I know I hadn't even really, you couldn't articulate it, but I was like, this has just been up till now just what I do. Like, this is just where I go, and, you know, I kind of hold to, there's something that I do believe God's there, and I do believe he loves me, but, you know, there's a real depth to it that goes beyond what I could ever have imagined, you know. What was your question?
Just when you started to understand the gospel and what it meant.
Yeah.
I suppose connecting all of the dots throughout the Bible is part of it. And the Bible in isolation is a book full of random stories that on the face of things probably doesn't actually connect anything to anything. It's got this old book that it's just a lot of violence and rage, to this other book it's probably a bit more about love and forgiveness, and it's hard to really find a connection there unless you actually dig into it and understand it and start to pray through it. So for anyone that is reading the Bible but maybe not a believer and or gave themselves to Christ, it's challenging to go through that one.
Yeah. And I'm still learning. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
There's still often things I'm like, man, I did not know that. Like, just it's not even necessarily massive to anyone else, but it's just little things that, you know, about God's character or something that kind of add to the multifaceted view that you get of him and the depth of how true it is.
I mean, I'm still blown away when you dive into one of the older books and they're talking about Jesus and you just think, how is that not obvious to me at the time? It's unbelievable.
Yeah, like hundreds of years.
Yeah. And that's just the brilliance of God. Okay, so primary was a bit weird for you.
It was positive and negative. Mixed.
Yep. What was high school like then? Was it a normal high school? Let's start there.
It was a normal high school. Normal English, if you like, what you prefer. It was like they did Gaelic subjects in Melbourne, which is the school I went to. So it was kind of until third year at school, I did all my subjects in Gaelic, apart from PE, English. And
well, they're a bit tough to do PE and Gaelic because that's like football and stuff, isn't it?
Well, how's that tough? That's probably actually maybe. I'm trying to think now. There's like 3 subjects I didn't have in Gaelic, possibly like maths maybe. I don't know. Anyway,
it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, so I had French. That'd be it. So all these subjects were still in Gaelic up until third year. So we were still with the same group of kids. So we moved.
I thought you said this at a normal high school.
Sorry, it is a normal high school.
Doesn't sound like it.
Stop saying normal. It's not unnormal. It's just different to what you know, right? Being inflammatory.
I think I touched on it earlier.
I'm just speaking on behalf of those who are angry right now. So, sorry, Dad.
So what was high school like then? So what's going on there?
I think it's significant that we had the same class. So the Gaelic primary school class, I grew up from P1 up to secondary 3. We're the same group. So with that, I think came issues of we just knew each other like family. And although there was good relationships there that have gone on, and you know, there's also a lot of negative memories of just a bit of bullying, a bit of like just nastiness and like recurrent, like just wearing difficult relationships. So I definitely struggled a lot with relationships in school. Like,
so were you on the other end of being bullied and?
Certainly a lot of time, yeah. But I think, and there were definitely times I probably brought it on myself. I mean, I was probably annoying and like didn't read the situation or something, I don't know. But yeah, I was definitely bullied at times in school. And I remember one day just being like, nobody is speaking to me, and my best friend was off that day. So like, I had no friends for like a lunchtime when I was wandering about at the high school. Like, but then in 4th year, we got split. So that the class, the blob, got split up, and we all went our kind of separate ways to different subjects and things, as you do. And I just remember being like, this is the best thing ever, like, because people were. I'm not saying people were perfect, but certainly I just felt there was a different atmosphere in classrooms. Like I was like, wow, people actually speak to each other with respect, you know, and like people were nice to each other, and it's just the bit, I don't know, a taste of normal that was like lovely. Yeah. And I made good friends then that I hadn't thought was possible.
That's cool. I want to go back to you being bullied. Not to make you cry, although if you do want to cry,
I'm not going to cry.
Good for entertainment purposes. So, were you ever bullied? First of all, were you ever bullied for being a Christian?
Minor. If I was, then that's not the predominant memory. It was just like...
Okay. That was maybe just part of it.
Yeah, maybe. And that, like, to be honest, I didn't really... In primary school anyway, again, like, there was a lot of Christian teaching going on.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I don't think anybody really questioned it in primary school that much. But then, I guess into secondary, when I did become a Christian and was making more of a stand for what I believed in, then yeah, I guess there was more comments made. But then, I think by then I was a bit more... I didn't care as much, but then early, I think maybe 1st, 2nd and 3rd year, yeah, I think those were difficult years because I think it was a lot of comments made like about appearance.
Yeah.
I mean, that wasn't just me, it was like a lot of girls in the class just made fun of her, what clothes you wear, whatever, like just the usual things, but just relentless every day. And the people who did it probably don't even remember. Probably like not. That's the thing. Yeah. So yeah.
So were you quite vocal about being a Christian, or was that
Yeah, well, I think when I was 15. I'm like, how can I not remember? 15 or 16. I definitely was like, because I got baptised and I invited friends to see the baptism and everything, and so that was a big deal. And there was actually quite a big group, not of just the Gaelic speaking people, but there was other folk as well in Milburn who were Christians, and we used to go along to this youth event called Extreme. Okay. And we were like pretty much like running it ourselves with the music and like getting people to come and speak and like having kind of little creative bits going on with like drama stuff and things to try and get the gospel across. So like it didn't feel like I was on my own. Yeah. I never felt alone as a Christian. There was always people that I felt I could talk to, and we had an SU group called Sold Out after school every week, whatever it was. So yeah, positive actually laterally in high school. Okay. As a Christian, really, miraculously.
So when you were getting bullied and stuff, not just for being a Christian, but just in general, did you ever turn to God or that during that time? Can you remember?
Yeah, I think I would have. I mean, I knew the truth of I've been created, and that, and my parents would have reinforced all these truths to me as well, because they knew what was going on at school. But I suppose as an immature kid, you're not really able to put two and two together that well. Sometimes you're like, all you can feel is the hurt of the words that are being said, and I've always been good at just holding on to the negative things that someone says, like, so I don't know whether what came first, whether that caused that or whether I was already like that, but I think I already had a tendency to kind of hold on to and believe the lies and believe the well, what I look like means that's what I'm worth, and so that definitely created some toxic stuff going on inside me.
Okay. So you came out the other end though. which is a positive.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you said you were maybe 15, 16 when you got baptised. Can you remember the lead up to that, the kind of light bulb moment at all?
Yeah, as I said, the elder that did a lot of work with the youth, I mean, he put a lot of time into teaching us the Bible and bringing it to life to us. And like, we'd just been for a weekend away, and as part of that weekend away, we were away at it was at a football pitch, a big convention type thing. It was Billy Graham's son, Franklin Graham.
Okay.
And he did a kind of altar call thing down at the pitch, and so it's like, if you want to become a Christian, then come down the pitch and everything. So I thought this was the moment, you know. I was like, oh, this is it, right? So with like 600 other people, I went down to the pitch.
Wow.
Somebody, and like it was a deal, like it was.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to belittle that. So somebody came up to me and took my details and like prayed with me and kept in touch with me. Like, to her credit, she did send me cards for months after that. But I remember thinking on the way home, I just was like, I just feel a bit flat. Like, I was like,
Okay.
I don't know if I've done this right, or did I not say the prayer right, or what am I doing? Like, I still feel like I'm down. I remember looking out the minibus window at the moon and just being like, the grandeur of like the universe there, and I was like, how can I not feel anything about this? Like,
so you expected some supernatural feeling to come over you when you...
Yeah.
And that didn't happen.
It didn't at that point, no. There was no fireworks, there was no like, ah. I just felt flat, and I was like,
no
I've done it
angels
wrong.
coming down and singing and none of
No.
that. That's disappointing.
Yeah, I just thought I'd be more excited. So on the way home, I guess like over that week, sort of thinking about it, and told mum and dad about it, and they were obviously happy to hear all these things and everything. And then Angus, the elder that I'm talking about, he would have known that like a few of us went down to the pitch that weekend, and he wanted to follow up with that the week after and make sure. He was like, basically, here's what you're saying you were doing, like if you want to commit your life to God, then this is what it means, and do you really want that? Because if you actually do want to follow the Lord, he will take you at your word, and he will, you know, if you give your life to him, he will take you. And I was like,
were you very sin during all this?
Yeah, that was a big, definitely, big thread through it all was, well, clearly he was bringing Jesus' words to life. You can't do that without being aware of your sin and how much you need him, and you know, you can't just earn your way to heaven. You have to trust in him for what he's done. And
how did you feel towards being a sinner?
I think I'm okay with that. I've never doubted it. I'm like, I have no problem with being told I'm a sinner at all. I'm like, it can be more obvious.
Yeah, because a lot of people can take offence to that.
Yeah, definitely, because it takes, I guess because I was brought up in the church, though, I was told about sin from the start, but I was also told about forgiveness from the start. So it's not like I've gone my whole life thinking, you know, I'm fine, and then, bam, you're a sinner. I was like, so I guess there was groundwork done there already, so I wasn't completely shocked by the idea of being a sinner, so that was okay.
Can you remember if you ever made conscious efforts to not sin in the obvious ways?
Yeah, definitely. Massive ways, like relationships. Like, I was involved with a guy when I was like 14. We were just kids, you know. But I remember it being a big deal that he wasn't a Christian.
Yeah.
Mum was like, what church does he go to? Like, who's this guy? So we stayed together like an hour and a half, a year and a half.
An hour and a half. That's enough time to be in love at that age, surely.
But it just naturally ended because we grew up a bit, and then another relationship started when I was 16. I was just one of these people that's ended up in a serious relationship, and he wasn't a Christian to begin with either. So mum and dad must have been like, at that point. genuinely thought that was it. We were going to
Yeah.
get married. That was, planned our lives out kind of thing, as you do at age 16. And I remember I broke up with him kind of halfway through the relationship because I was like, "You're not a Christian, and like we shouldn't be together," and stuff like that. And then he actually did become a Christian.
Was that because you broke up?
Well, yeah, it sounds a bit suspect. So it was like, just because you become a Christian doesn't mean we get back together. But he genuinely did, and his brother as well had become
Wow.
a Christian, and it was wonderful. But our relationship was still wrong.
Yeah.
And it didn't make, just because he became a Christian, it became apparent over time that we were just not right for each other at all.
And I'm glad you broke up with him, because we might not have been sitting here.
Well, yeah,
now.
exactly.
So-
I know, and I'm so grateful for, the fact that even though I was running one direction, the Lord, gently brought me back. And also, his life.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
being brought in another direction. He was also a Christian. He's now married with kids, and it's great. So
That's awesome, yeah,
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 absolutely.
absolutely.
And I don't know where his brother's at right now, but clearly God was at work in that too, and even in my mistakes. And I'm not saying that makes it all right, and you should just go out with a non-Christian because then they become just flirt to convert kind of thing. It doesn't work that way. But I'm
I've
just
never
saying,
heard anyone say that.
well, you have. But I do believe that the Lord was at work
Yeah.
graciously in my sinful decision making in my life.
Cool. So you were baptised then at 15, 16-ish. What do you remember about that day?
I do remember being very nervous. There was 5 of us that were baptised together, and yeah, it was a total high, getting to invite non-Christians along and proclaiming what you believe, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was a wonderful day. I spoke my testimony at the front, told them how I became a Christian, and yeah, it was amazing.
It's so easy to get caught up though thinking it's about you
Well, yeah.
on those days.
And I probably did at that
Yeah.
point. Was much more thinking about myself than I was about the truth of it. But I do think even so, God has used it.
Yeah.
And I don't. Yeah, my baptism was still an act of obedience, even if it was a flawed act of obedience.
Yeah, we'll take that.
Sounds plausible.
It certainly does. Okay, so what happened to your life after being saved and baptised?
It's just been a pattern of ups and downs, I suppose. I think I remember at age 17 hitting a real low. I was journaling a lot, writing things like, "I'm just done with life," and yeah, and this was having been a Christian, obviously.
Yeah.
So, it's complicated. I just didn't really know where I was coming and going. I was just kind of didn't know what I was doing with my life. I guess relationship stuff was didn't know what to rely on, and I hadn't learned how to rely on Christ. I hadn't learned to put my roots down deep in Him at that point, and I'm still learning that big time.
And I think that's very, very important, because people think once you're saved, baptised, that's it.
Yeah.
That's only the beginning.
Oh, definitely.
Man, it's so much tougher. And
Yeah.
you don't know anything at that point. All you know is, I love God, God loves me, Jesus has saved me.
Yeah.
But-
And sometimes it just He graciously takes us through different situations that reveal what's really in our hearts, and
Absolutely.
I think that was exactly what was going on and has been going on since then. Is just bringing out sin, revealing sin to myself, and not just so that He can batter me with it, but so that He can bring me closer to Himself and comfort me and strengthen me and make me wiser, as you can see. But I do see fruit and I do see growth over the years, but it's just been really slow, and I fight it all the way because I want my own way most of the time,
I think we all
which
do.
is it's a sad truth, but we
Yeah.
will.
So what happened after high school then? Did you go to uni? Did you?
What are you smiling at, Pete?
What did you do?
He's just he loves this bit. Not straight away, or was it? This is where I'm bad because I don't remember what order things happened in. Oh no! The first year after I left school, so I stayed till 6th year at school, and the plan was to go to art school. So I loved art, and got into Grey School of Art in Aberdeen, and I didn't go. Deferred for a year, mainly because of this relationship I was in.
Okay. So you chose that?
Well, kind of. Also, I was just scared.
Yeah.
Didn't really have much of an ambition for what to do with that degree. I couldn't see a clear, like, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I was kind of just, what do you call it, digging your heels in kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I went to a local college and just did a kind of fine art course, a general fine art first course that you would do in order to get into art school. Most folk were there saying, "Why are you here? Like, you got into art school and you're here. Why are you here?" Like, I'm just wasting time, basically. And I also worked that year in a kilt shop.
Ah, very good.
So that was that year. It was, again, I think I learned a lot, made friends there that were valuable. Shared my faith a lot that year with people in the class. So it was really interesting conversations with some weird and wonderful people that were on this course.
Yeah, because the artistic world is full of wonderful and weird people.
There were some mentalists in there, by the way. But it was great. It was so good.
I hope they're watching.
Yeah. Oh, there too. You're mental. So that year ended, and then I was like, what do I do? And then what was it? After that, it was Activate that year, yeah, because I was still with this guy. So we were like, we want to serve the Lord with our lives. So we both applied to Youth for Christ.
Yep.
And he got a place down in Newcastle to do a football sports kind of gospel outreach.
Okay.
It's a voluntary thing, so you just raise money to go and share the gospel with people through the means of medium of football. Does that sound weird? Yes.
That's fine.
You know,
that sounds good. That's what Pete does when he plays fives.
Yeah, exactly. So I went to Luton near London.
Okay. Wow, I didn't
For
know
a
you
year.
went, didn't
Yeah, I'm old. I've done a lot of things.
Yeah. I always forget how old you are.
Pete, am I old?
Very old.
Yeah.
But get to the good part. Come on.
So basically I did drama and singing
And
dancing.
Okay.
It's like,
so you're a professional dancer for a year.
I wasn't a professional dancer. I was a volunteer. That's even worse. So
Okay. What kind of dancing?
We street dance kind of thing. Yeah. So we did.
Why have I never witnessed this?
I'm so glad phones weren't, prevalent back then, because
That
there's
is
absolutely
definitely an opportunity for outreach here. To do dancing.
No, I
And Galana.
didn't say I was good.
Pete, when he
No.
Yeah, I could hear the Lord calling.
Absolutely.
We did, anyway, so it was a bit ramshackle. Like, it was all run by very young people. It was a lot of, this is where I'm going to end up slating, Youth for Christ are great. But, there was very little accountability, kind of really where we were going, what we were doing, the kind of timetable we had. There was 4 of us, 2 guys and 2 girls living in this house. It could have gone really
That is
badly.
a well dodge.
Nobody checking in really to see how we were doing, and not spiritually anyway.
Yeah.
Although there were things that we did gather together, and that's not to say there was nothing helpful about that year. Absolutely there was. It was great, and I'm just so blessed that I was with a team led by a girl called Ellie, who was a godly girl and took seriously God's word, and we kind of had a bit of accountability between us and things like that. So there was that. It was really good. But
I just can't believe you were a dancer.
I know. So we went around schools and we did gigs, and so we would have I shouldn't laugh. This is a real thing. This is the year I did. This is part of my life. I'm not gonna laugh at it.
A key part of your life there.
I didn't say that. So we went into classrooms and we'd maybe do an RE class. So we'd kind of tell the kids the gospel and maybe do a wee drama bit about it and ask questions, let the kids ask questions about things. So basically,
And that's good though. That
oh
can be
yeah,
quite
definitely. And there was some great stuff, but we were only there for a week, and then we'd do a wee gig at the end where we'd invite them to come and watch our dances. So the dances are to songs that, so a lot of them are kind of current tracks from the charts.
Yeah.
So like things that you could take a Christian message out of.
Yeah.
So like Bring Me to Life, Evanescence, for example. And like,
Why did we not see this on the talent contest? That's all I want to know.
oh dear. Anyway, so, and then it would be a gospel bit in the middle of
Yeah.
like telling people why we're here, what we're doing, and why they need to hear the message and stuff. So it was a great year, and I'm grateful for it. But I can't believe we didn't die on the roads, because the guy who was driving us up and down the country was 17 years old and just passed his test.
Wow.
He was great, but yeah, we had a couple of near misses.
Well, that's another thing that you've survived. So that's good. Okay, so you were in Luton for a year, singing, dancing, being creative, and trying to get the gospel into schools and so on and so forth. What brought you to Glasgow?
Oh well, there's
Is that
another year
jumping too
between
far?
that. There's another
Okay.
year before that. Another year. So I was like, what do I do now? What do I do? There's
And
only
you
a
were
year.
30 by that point.
40 actually. And I just was like, the natural next step is to just go home, and
Yeah.
you know, it was kind of like I didn't feel led in any other direction as such, so went home and had connections with Youth for Christ, a local Youth for Christ,
Yep.
in Inverness. So ended up doing a bit of voluntary work in a high school in Inverness with another really amazing team of people, along with the guy I was with again. And we did kind of lunchtime clubs and like RE classes, things like that. So it was similar, like there was a lot of transferable stuff. We worked with kids with behavioural difficulties and things, so we went into the base, the kind of behavioural base, for almost like half the day and just sit with kids that were struggling and just like help
That
them do
must
their
have
homework
been
or
quite a
whatever,
challenge.
play games with them and stuff. Yeah, and we got to know them really well, and the teachers, and so there was a unique kind of a Christian presence in that school that
Yeah.
I've never really seen anywhere else. And Lindsay Howie was kind of heading it up, and she really poured into my life in a big way. And she was the first person that I really had properly regular like accountability and like Bible study, and like she just really spoke into my life in a really helpful way and questioned whether my relationship was right and things like that. She went there,
Yeah.
and I was like, I want to hear that.
It's okay, I know how that feels.
Yeah. So, but at that point she was right. I just didn't want to hear it, and we were also arguing a lot, and we were like, it was just like it was going bad, but I just didn't want to listen to the truth.
Yeah.
We didn't bring out good things in each other at all, and we were in a sinful like relationship really. So eventually we ended that, and that was that. And but it didn't spoil the year of what we were doing there. It was good. Like,
And it's amazing that God uses people's talents and skills in that way, and it sounds as if that girl that you were with done a lot of good stuff.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So you done that for a year. What happened after that? Did you come to Glasgow?
Yes. So it's gonna sound like I'm just a serial relationship finder, but
yeah.
and it's not that I'm not trying to say relationships are the key to anything. It's just that again, God has been gracious in my what am I doing?
So that's why you tell us you stopped Pete?
Well, it was a longer process than it sounds like it was, but basically we broke up with this guy and had complete peace about it. It was completely like, this is the right thing. It was like a burden being cast off, and I don't mean that in a bad way towards him at all. I just mean it in a, like, this was the right thing for both of us, and I knew it deep, and walked away with joy, actually. Like, but, so the ball had already started rolling with what was happening next, which was that I was going to move down to Glasgow and do a course with International Christian College, which is no longer there.
Yep.
In Glasgow, obviously. And
Did you know anyone in Glasgow, or were you just come down on your own?
Well, I had some family there, but I wasn't necessarily going to live with them or anything. It was just Glasgow. My mum and dad knew Glasgow. They grew up there as well. So It's interesting that they lived there, moved up to Inverness, and then I moved back down. So, sorry, lost my thread now. So yeah, I'd applied to go to International Christian College. There's like backstory to that as well, like why I went to Bible college was like, what am I doing with my life? My thought process was, I want to know the Lord. I want to know what He wants for me. I want to know the Bible better. That was my desire. So I was like, Lord, show me what to do with that. I don't know what to do with that. And I went, we were actually staying for a wee holiday with my mum and dad's friends in Gaelic. And beautiful place, absolutely stunning place.
Yeah.
And she mentioned somebody who went to Bible college. It was just, she wasn't even talking to me. She was just talking to someone, like my mum, about somebody who went to Bible college. And I was like lightning bolt, yes. Why didn't I ever think of that? Like, I would love to do that. So I just like went upstairs, sat in my bed, and I was like, Lord, if this is what you want, let it happen. Like, this is, and my heart is like on fire. I just want to do this. And so I looked into it straight away, and it looked like either like Dingwall, which was really near Inverness, was it?
Yeah. Looking away from that.
And or Glasgow or London, and I was like, don't go back to London. So Glasgow was a very natural kind of idea. So I applied to that, and then broke up with this guy, applied to International Christian College, and then went through the interview process where the college bit was fine, but then you had to get placed with a church or a Christian organisation.
Okay.
And so I went to a couple of interviews, and I just never it wasn't a kind of mutual connection there between us. So it wasn't until the third one, which was Cartsbridge Evangelical in the south side of Glasgow.
I know where this is going.
Yes. The third one, I was just like, yes, this just feels different, and the people, what they're saying, the message that they're, just the word, like how they talk about their faith. I was like, I feel at home here, like already, and I'd got a phone call because it was obviously it depended on whether I felt I wanted to be there and they wanted me. I had to kind of work together. So I might well want to go, but they wouldn't want me. But I got a phone call from Alistair saying it's been a unanimous decision that we want you to come and be our student youth worker. Not, I should have added that youth worker. And I said, well, okay. And I was excited. I was like, I'll need to phone you back because that's what you meant to do. You meant to feel like, I need to go and think and pray about this. And I was like, I'm going to go and think about it, but I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And I was like... You
knew straight away.
Yeah, and I was like, do you know what, Alistair? Never mind, I'm going to go. I'm going to come. It's fine. I don't need to think about it. Because I already thought about it, already prayed about it, and I knew I wanted to go there. 2 weeks later, went to go and see their holiday club just to kind of get a feel for the church and the young people there and everything. So met Pete. We became friends straight away. Like,
so you fell in love with one of the young people?
No, Pete
was he or was he not one of the young people of the youth group at that time?
No, he was not.
Really?
You need to come out here and say that right now. This is slander.
Well, Pete's like 10 years younger than you.
2 years younger than me.
He was in the YF and you were helping lead it.
I was in the YF too, really.
You were helping lead it.
Pete!
Pete's not making it weird.
Yeah, you're making this weird.
Yeah, I'm making it weird.
I wish I could remember what age we were because it was an appropriate age.
There's actually too much of that going on, so let's just forget about that, right? So you're at, so you're in Glasgow now. You're meeting the young people who's not Pete.
Can I just say the youth fellowship was filled with people who were married or at uni. So it was like a very old. It's like totally slack.
So you're saying Pete was married and then you're a homemaker?
I'm not saying everyone was married at the youth fellowship, but certainly there was a lot of older age group there.
Okay. So that must have been quite daunting though, to come down to Glasgow, kind of on your own, quite young.
I was young.
What?
Trusting in Jesus to lead you through that.
Yeah, I was braver then.
Yeah. No, that's cool. So, what was the long-term goal then? So, did you want to kind of work in, be a youth worker within ministry? Was that kind of what you were going down?
I think, again, I just went with like what was the natural next step rather than like, I don't really ever plan ahead very far. Never have, never will. So having done the youth work thing with Youth for Christ and then also the high school thing in Inverness, I thought it was a natural next step to then apply to do youth work. So like, yeah, like I never felt especially like gifted at it, but then I never feel especially gifted at anything. So like, I just was trying to follow what I thought was an obedient next step, and I don't know what I'd expected really. To be honest, I didn't know whether I would end up being a youth worker of a church or if I'd maybe just be part of a team of another group of folk, and had no idea where it was leading. To be honest.
You were just happy to just go where Jesus
to be honest,
sent you.
The reason I went to Bible college was for Bible teaching.
Yeah.
Like that was my primary reason for being there. But the youth work thing just was a bit of a fun like side.
Came alongside it.
Yeah.
So, I think you give us a very brief overview of what it looked like when you were at the International Christian College. What did you take away from that? Was it what you expected and so on and so forth? No,
it was not what I expected. I think actually, I think I was quite naive about what it meant to be a Christian, and in a nice way as well. But I think I got cynical as time went on, because I started to realise there were so many different people that said different things and believed different things about the Bible, believed different things about how church should be done, about who's saved, who's not saved, how you show that you're saved, and like things that you should do, shouldn't do. I was just like my brain exploded, and I got really down and discouraged actually, like maybe about halfway through.
Did that take you away from your personal walk with Jesus?
Well, yeah, it did. I think it did affect me a lot. I think I remember crying to my dad about it actually when we went to visit. I was like, I feel like I've just lost my childlike faith. I just feel like I've just forgotten, and I'm never going to get it back. Like, I just feel like it's gone, because I'm just so discouraged by. It's like I thought I knew what a Christian was. I thought just like you say you believe, and that's it. And I know it. And actually, to bring it back, I do think I've gone full circle, not back to where I was, but certainly it's not what I thought. I thought we'd be enlightened into. Well, things are more complicated than I thought. Actually, you have to do all these things, and it's really, really complicated, and you have to be at the right kind of this and that. But actually, I've come back to believe in the Lord Jesus Christ and you'll be saved. Like it's simple as you're a sinner, you need saved. Trust in Him.
And I think that's what puts a lot of people off. You think that they need to go away and follow all these rules and tick all these boxes and do all these nice things to be saved, and in the end, yes, all those things are definitely important.
Yeah,
but that's
definitely.
That's not how you become saved.
No, absolutely, and I know there's a lot. Then that's the steps that come after that. Of you do need to be part of a healthy church. You can't just survive on your own, but that's not to say these things don't save you.
Yeah.
Like these things are an outworking of your faith. So like, I think I got really discouraged by what I thought was, am I even a Christian? Like, what do I even believe? Like, I was just like, I'm ready for giving up here. I can't handle this. It would destroy my faith.
And was this because of the people that were teaching you at the college, or was this your own research which was causing this?
I don't think anyone was at fault. I think it was just that it was a very diverse lecturing.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of different opinions, and I think that caused problems. Like there was definite issues that came from that. But yeah, it was just so naive. Like I had no idea. So when they were saying things, I just took it as facts, and so I was maybe taught some very, very wrong things that actually at the time I was like, okay, oh wow, didn't know that. Like I wasn't thinking critically about it. I wasn't really weighing it up. I was just like, I'm just overwhelmed by so much information. I'm not ready for this.
Yeah, and then you could breathe and actually process it.
Yes, and I think the Lord was at work in that, breaking away the things that were unnecessary, and then gently just bringing me to put back the blocks that were unmovable. Like, what is unmovable here in my faith? What is unchangeable? And that is God is unchangeable. Like, the cross is unchangeable. His love for me is unchangeable. You know, things like that cannot be moved. And then there's other things that, while they matter, you know, they aren't what saves me and what disqualifies me. You know.
Yeah, that's a pretty solid way of thinking about it.
Yeah.
The unmovable things. I like that. That's good.
So I've got a very small wall now. I had a big wall, but
So you says you remember crying at your dad. Was he quite supportive through that, and was he good encouragement for you?
oh, absolutely. He cried too. Me and my dad cry a lot. But he was like, "It'll come back. It'll come back." Because I felt my child like I just thought it was so wide-eyed and like everything was simple, black and white. You're a Christian. You're not a Christian. You need to be Christian. Like, you're doing that wrong. That's, you know. I just I saw everything so simple, and
if only it was as simple as that.
Yeah. But thankfully, it is to God. It's like I just don't know it and I don't understand it, but I need to be okay with that. So I had to let go of a lot of things that I thought I knew. But yeah, Dad was very supportive, and
Good.
he didn't panic about that. He was just like, "Don't worry, it'll come back." And he, you know, he's been praying for me since I was born, you know, or before I was born. So, and I know, it's a huge reason why I carried on being a Christian.
Good.
Because I definitely wouldn't do that now.
Okay, so how long were you at the college for?
3 years.
3 years. What happens? Kind of anything interesting happening in between that during that time?
Well, yeah, I got married.
Yeah,
Well, actually, I wasn't. Well, I was at college. It was after I finished. But yeah, I met Pete obviously straight away. We just kind of made friends in the same group. At Cartsbridge, hung out for a good few months. I worked through a lot of stuff, like emotionally, relationally. I was a bit of a mess, to be honest, for quite a while. And then, eventually got together, and I tried to break up with him because I freaked out. And he was like, "No." I was like, "What?" And he was like, "I think we should pray about it." I was like,
That was very wise of him.
He did, yeah. So basically, he used God against me.
Sometimes you need to do it.
Didn't really. But from then on, I was plain sailing, be perfect.
No, that's quite funny. You tried to leave and he was like, "Nope,
No, it wasn't because I wanted
you'll
away
stay
from
with
him.
me. Women, know your place."
I was just a mess. I was an absolute mess. Like, I just didn't know what I was doing. And I just was terrified of another relationship going down Swanee. And I was like, I don't want to hurt this guy. I was like, heard about him, so I didn't want to.
Yeah.
And then
So you pulled him out a bit of a patch as well, which we all heard on the very first podcast.
Well, I kind of, pulled him out of uni first and then...
he did blame me for that too.
I know, I heard that.
Okay, so you and Pete have started a relationship. You're still at college.
Yes.
You spent, I'm assuming, a lot of time together with Christ, which is awesome because that's key to a Christian relationship, I suppose.
Yeah.
Then you got married just as you finished college, is that right?
2009, so I finished in 2008, but Pete was still doing his last year because he was a copycat and went to international Christian college.
Okay.
He didn't do the youth work, he did a proper one.
So you got married in 2009, did you say?
Mm-hmm.
That's good. You're the first person to know.
Yes, I know that one.
What was the rest of the date?
Well, it's the 13th of August.
There you
Pete
go.
said the 14th, didn't he?
I can't
But
remember.
I get it wrong too, so.
Well, you got it right tonight.
I got it right
That's
tonight.
good. And everyone else that's been on's also got stuff wrong about their relationship and their marriages, so.
Well, that's reassuring.
Yes. We'll not hold that against anybody.
His
Okay.
name right.
So you got married, you lived in the south side, is that right?
Yeah, at first, that's when I can't remember how many years. A year, 2 years?
It must have been 2 years.
2 years.
Okay.
Next door to the church.
Yeah. So that was the church you were still going to? Was that the one you worked at when you were doing the youth stuff?
Yeah.
So what was it like being an adult there? and being part of the church itself?
Yeah, it was a hugely positive time I just remember really appreciating the teaching and really godly guys, like the elders that were good. Like I was set up with a girl called called Hilary, who she kind of mentored me through my time. So we talked a lot, prayed a lot together, read the Bible together. Again, another kind of model of discipleship and accountability within my life. Hilary was a massively helpful, wise voice in my ear, like that whole time. So really grateful for her. Positive being there. Like the work, like I definitely struggled with aspects of, the course and what was expected of me and things, but that's just the part. That's just me.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. So Pete, I'm assuming during this time got a job in Ballanark.
Not in Berlin, but while he was at Berlin, yeah.
The job was in Berlin.
Yeah, the job was in Ballanark.
Pete's job was in Berlin.
He was a youth worker.
And said that Pete got the job.
Oh, that's sorry. Yes. No, that's funny because I was imagining.
You're thinking
I was
now?
imagining side to side when he said Berlin, but actually, never mind.
Yes. So while you lived on the
Delete
south
that.
side, Pete got the youth worker job.
Sorry,
with
yes.
Pete in Ballanark.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
There we go. Got there in the end.
You know my life better than I
Yeah.
do, so I'm just going to let you talk now.
So how did you feel about that coming into Ballanark? And because you obviously started coming around church and been around Rock Solid, which is a youth club, that later became GYP and so on and so forth. What's your kind of memories from? Because that was quite a few years and a lot of knowledge. So what was your memories there?
Like, it was definitely difficult times. Like, I think it was a lot of where are we going? Like, what's going to become of us? Like, what? Like, there was a lot of positives as well. Like, obviously the youth work stuff there was thriving. It was really doing well, and a lot of good relationships, good conversations, good opportunities to share the gospel with young people, and tons of volunteers that were there that like yourself.
Absolutely. So
that we
there's
got
two
to know.
memories of which sticks out with me and you during those times. First of all, that sounded well dodged, but no.
No,
First,
I'm not. I'm just a bit worried about what you're going to say.
First of all, I remember you dropped like a full tin of paint in your car and Pete was pure raging at you. I don't know why that sticks in my head.
Red
but
as
pure
well.
sticks
It
in my
looked like
head,
someone had
aye,
been
aye.
murdered in the back
Yeah.
of our car.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yep, I just remember Pete being raging.
Vauxhall Astra.
Yeah. I don't know why that sticks in my head.
That's
but it
hilarious.
sticks in my head. And Pete
Pete
trying to
doesn't get raging at me.
try to scoop it out. That was funny. And secondly, you prayed for me the weekend I was saved. So you did. You don't remember, do you?
I do actually.
Oh, that's
I don't
good.
remember what happened, but I do. Like now you say that, I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, you were the first person to
Aww.
pray for me and with me. So that was pretty cool.
That's cool.
That's what sticks in my head as well.
That's why you're here today.
Yes. Yeah, all because of you. Not because of anyone else.
Not true.
Yeah, so Pete's kind of kicking around church and being a youth worker and playing that game. You weren't a youth worker during that time. What were you doing?
Oh, I was working for South Lanarkshire Council at that time, doing a kind of youth worky type job. But it wasn't like I was basically going into different colleges and like again working with kids with a lot of behavioural issues. And then laterally it was kids that were kind of in a course to get them into a trade basically.
Okay.
So through college, so like woodwork or electricals and things like that, or hairdressing. So I'd basically just be sitting in with them, and like we're doing like youth achievement awards with them and things like that. So
Okay.
again, a lot of good opportunities from those years. Like I was around different places, so it wasn't just like one college. It was.
I'm assuming this was nothing to do with ministry or
No, it was.
because
Sorry, it was a
council,
completely secular, non-Christian job. So, it was a totally actually valuable experience to do that because it was weirdly refreshing.
Yeah.
To not be having that safety net of Christians around you who are going to just back you up with things.
In the real world.
Yeah, the real world, and like people would be like, don't agree with that, and like, and you know, not I didn't receive any face to face aggro from anybody about my faith, but I was like bold about sharing my faith then because I didn't care what they thought. I was just like, I'm just gonna say it. But it wasn't just brashness. I do think like some good relationships came out of that and good conversations and folk I'm friends with now that would still happily chat away to. So yeah.
Interesting. So you start a family.
With some help from Pete.
Yeah, Pete would definitely have been involved in that.
That's my fault, sorry. Carry on.
Yes. So you start a family, but you also are moving house and starting to get involved in 20 schemes. So there's quite a lot going on at the one time. Talk us through that kind of time. Is that tough?
It was in Cara Hill. We'd moved to Cara Hill first from the south side.
Yep.
And we had Callan when we were in that house. And we also had the twins in that house. You can tell how hard I'm working right now.
Yep.
Don't ask me what year.
You're already doing better.
2013, Callan was born.
You're doing better than Pete. So that's good.
I did try and think this through before. I was like, I need to know when my kids were born. If I could just remember that. And then the twins were born in that house. But although we had already put our house in the market and hoped to be moving into Berlanach at that point, you give me the thumbs up, I'm right. So we were surprised to have the twins in that house, and we were kind of like, are we ever going to sell our house? But we did. So we moved, but couldn't get a house to buy. So we ended up moving into a flat to rent, which was great, and it was a really nice flat. But then within
what was that?
Pendine.
Yep.
And then within 3 months, we found out that for legitimate reasons, the lady needed the flat back. And we were like, okay, so we've just moved here with 3 young kids, 3 under 3. So we moved into another house, which thankfully came up. Another rent. We're renting that one as well, unfortunately, but in Berlanach as well. So the twins lived in, well, obviously we all lived in 3 different houses before the twins were 1.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was a tough time then.
And we're still in that house now.
Yep. Okay. And you now have a dog in that house?
We have a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's great. Do you want to see a picture?
I think we've all seen pictures.
We love the dog.
Good. And I'm assuming you also love your children as well.
Yeah. They're great.
Okay. So what was your relationship with God during that time? Because that was obviously challenging.
You mean way back at
when you were kind of moving houses and things were unstable?
Oh, I think it was. I do remember struggling again. Struggled like up and down. I don't think I've ever not struggled, but I think really struggled as a young mum. I was a young mum. To find time to spend with the Lord every day and to find a kind of routine with that. And I know that routine isn't everything, but I was just so kind of like everything was happening to me. So definitely feel like the first 2 years of the twins being around was a blur. I don't remember anything really. Like I don't think I had a valuable thought that whole 2 years. I don't think I did anything valuable though. I don't know. But I don't remember much about it, and it just survived, I think, most of the time. I was so tired. But I do remember, like, somebody had sent me a book, what's it called? Manual for Young Mums or something like that? Do you know what I mean, Pete? Do you know what's
There is something called a manual for like...
Something like that. There's a pink one and a blue one for girls. So I got sent this by a friend, and the first one was it was literally just a psalm on one side and a very short thing to read, so it was like very bite-sized, easy to read and easy to digest for mums that have got no brains left. And it was just, come to me all you who are weary and burdened, and and it was just like, and I will give you rest. And I just wept. I was just like, yeah. You expect that when you come back to God after being so far from him, that he's going to pile on this like heavy load responsibility. You should have done this and you should have done that and can't believe you done this, and but actually all he's saying is, come be with me. Just sit with me, like love me. And like, not because I need you, but because I love you and because I want you to be with me.
Grace is incredible.
Yeah, it was just that amazing grace hit me like, and I was just like, yeah. And I've been trying to remember that whenever I get to that kind of stage again, which has happened quite a few times since then. I'm like, come to me, all you who are weary. Like, that's where I go. That's where I should go, not anywhere else.
Okay, so starting getting involved with 20 schemes. What's that journey been like for you as a mum?
Well, it's definitely a learning curve in terms of, or like more of a hard curve. That's a thing. I do remember when we met Mez, like it was exciting and it was, we were like, wow.
But there must have been a lot of unknowns.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I remember being really unsure about being made to feel like we had to move into Berlantic and being like, why though? Like, you can't tell me what to do. Like, that's my default. And it's like, you can't tell me where to live. But then slowly, again, the Lord is at work to like, it made sense because you're, the people you're reaching, you have to live near them to minister to them and to get to know them. And
it's important. It's important that people know that, because it's not, you don't want to show as if, I want to pastor in Berlantic, I want to evangelise in Berlantic. However, I'm better than you, so I want to live in somewhere that's better.
Definitely in a gated community somewhere that just nice and safe in your bubble. And
absolutely.
So it definitely felt like this is a bit of a weird move. And I remember the massive like form that Pete had to fill out to become a pastor, or like to even join 20 schemes, and like obviously I was involved in that as well, and I was just like, this is so intrusive, like why do they need to know all this? And like there's accountability. It's like it makes so much sense now looking back. You're like, of course they're going to ask these questions, like they need to know these things because they need to know who you are, and we have nothing to hide. We should have nothing to hide. So it was just like a massive like learning of, it's okay, the people that are coming at me are not here to hurt me. They're not here to like take anything from me. It was a good thing, and it was the Lord at work in my heart. And I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, no, definitely. I have a question around the roles of a woman at church. The reason I bring that up is I think often people think that women are to stay at home, cook my dinner, look after the kids. You don't get a say in church. You are part of the background and you're just there to serve. What would you say about
that? No. I think the creational order is, from the beginning, God created them male and female, and he created them different, and he gave them both roles clearly from the start. The man is the head of the household, and that's not the bully of the household. That's not the one who stomps all over everybody in the household.
In fact, I think we all know that women definitely are the superior.
Well, in a lot of relationships, the woman is smarter, the woman is more spiritually sensitive to things or whatever. But it's still it's about roles. Jesus took on a submissive role when he came to earth. He was obedient to the Father. He was he died for us, and we get to play a little bit of that out, not in the same way of like we hopefully don't have to die, but like there's a role playing out of like we are a helper for our husbands, and like we should be an encouragement to them and a joy to them, and not a burden to them. And I think that's been a massive learning curve to me too. It's like, and it's not just about getting your head right, it's your heart as well, about what am I doing here, what does the Bible say about what women should be doing, and it looks like oppression if you read it, and if you read verses in isolation or whatever, you will see it as like, this is just pushing women down. But actually, you can see how Jesus treats women, with utter respect. And, you know, there's a lot of prominent roles that women have in the Bible. And the same with church as well. Like there's roles at church as well, and and it's not like we don't understand everything. Again, like we do have to hold the truth of like, well, God is good. God has made roles for us. I mean, maybe we don't understand why, but we know that He's good, and we know that what He's said to us, what we should do. And like sometimes we don't know why and how they connect, but one day we will. And it should be a privilege for us to play out a role that is humble and that is submissive. And it doesn't mean being stomped all over. It is because obviously the onus is on the man of the house to love his wife as Christ loves the church, which is pretty tall order.
Yeah,
if you ask me.
For sure. It's a partnership. And
Absolutely.
I'll speak for our church, and hopefully Pete agrees, but if it wasn't for some of the women in our church, we'd be useless. Your church would be, it wouldn't be very well organised.
You've been playing football the whole time.
Pete, we need to get a deal with the women.
Gonna sound like that.
So yeah, for sure. Like,
I don't know if I answered that very fully.
No, you didn't.
No.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. I probably just put that on you.
No, it's alright.
I think that's good to kind of think over, because women shouldn't be seen as almost a slave. That's not what it's about. And I think a lot of people outside the church might think that.
Yeah, so. And I totally get why you'd be frightened by any sort of chat about being submissive, because you immediately think of someone taking advantage or somebody lording it over you, when actually, like you say, it's a partnership. Like, just because you have different roles doesn't mean you don't get to say or have an opinion, or you work together, you love each other, and like you and with the church, it's a body, it moves together in the same direction. If there's division, it doesn't move in the same direction. In the marriage, there's division, it doesn't move in the same direction. So like, it has to be mutual, dying to yourself within those relationships.
Definitely. So, where are you at the moment then? What's been going on? Obviously, we've been in lockdown for on and off for a year now. What's life been like for you during that time?
Yeah, there's absolutely been difficult times. Like I think we set the bar this is not a usual problem for us, we set the bar too high for ourselves with homeschooling the first time round, and I got discouraged by, we just didn't know, nobody knew what they were doing in the first wave of it all. So we were trying to do Joe Wicks every day, and this and that, and like we had a timetable for the day and everything, and then we just got really like just bummed out, and we're like, sack it all. So we just took a week off, and then we'd be back on it the next week and take another week off. So I think we were getting probably really stressed out at the beginning, and then I think the second time, when it came round to, obviously the schools were giving out work, and we were a bit more prepared for it the second time, so that was a lot different, and we had lowered our expectations somewhat. Like, if our children can focus for 20 minutes today, we have done something good. And if they play on the trampoline or on their fires, that's okay. So. And
your boys are pretty mental, so.
Yeah, they're the worst ones, definitely. So it was tough, and I don't find being at home difficult though. It makes me lazy though, and it makes me like, I'm quite happy just being in a bubble and like with my family at home.
But it's so easy though to do that.
Yeah.
It's so easy. I mean, we spent about 6 months trying to recruit you into the street fleet.
I know.
You know, and eventually
I'm doing such a great job
and
now.
you've not really done anything since.
I know, exactly. I'm just like, let's see what the cakes are this week, and join that week.
Yeah. So life was difficult then, try to kind of homeschool the boys and kind of try to juggle just normality, because being locked in the house together all that time is brutal.
Yeah. How
did you feel about being away from gathering as a church?
Yeah, I think again there was nice things about that. I'm not gonna lie. Like didn't have to get the kids ready in the morning and like brush your teeth, just stay in your jammies. It was great. But then you start to see the withering of your faith. You start to see the problems that arise in your own heart and other people's lives, and mental health issues
Yeah.
from just not being around each other, not having that constant encouragement and like
especially
teaching.
because at the beginning everything was pre-recorded, if you remember, and Pete would send them out usually on Sunday morning, and you could just watch it at your own leisure as and when.
Yeah.
Things then changed, and we started meeting together on Zoom as a church, but certainly it was so easy just to fall away and
Oh yeah,
Get
easily
into bad
just
habits.
slip away and be anonymous,
Yeah.
like turn your camera off, like, and it's a temptation that still is there for me, is to just withdraw, and I think I'm a weird mix of introvert, extrovert, and I don't really know what's going through my head half the time sometimes with church, because I do love the people and miss the singing, miss the all that, but yeah, it's amazing because it just brings out the real you, and you really get to see it in like crystal clear.
yeah.
Do I really miss that, and why do I not, and why do I miss this and not that, and like it makes you really question where your heart's at with the Lord, and like what you're basing your faith on. Like, am I just living off the faith of other people, or like the encouragement of other people, and am I not able to sustain my own like Bible reading routine and prayer routine? Do I need other people to keep me doing that?
But at the same token, that's why you can't just be on your own.
Yeah,
you
it doesn't
also
work.
It's also dangerous to just fall into the trap of being part of a church and not actually walking your own.
Yeah,
your own walk.
there's pitfalls on either side, for sure.
For sure. Okay, so we started meeting together as a church again. Praise the Lord. That was incredible on Sunday. It was good to be back. What's your plans for the future? But you don't plan anything, so what's
Don't
your
even know what I'm having for dinner tomorrow.
Pizza.
Oh yeah, have pizza.
There we go, having pizza.
You'd think I would set up some food page or something like that, but
Yeah, we should have totally spoken about that. We could have done a whole half an hour on that. No. Yeah. So what's your kind of immediate plans? Have you got anything happening going on?
just get back into things, and I think I am looking forward to routine and structure coming back. I think because as much as I want to rebel against it, I do need it, and like I'm doing women's work as part of the church as well, so obviously like that's going to be hopefully ramping up again into the summer as we can gather a bit more. So plans are just to take one day at a time, really, and I think my personal walk with the Lord is something that I need to just put first, and not just do the things that I need to tick a box for. Not that that's it's not what I wake up in the morning and want to do, but it's what you find yourself doing sometimes. You just kind of sometimes going through the motions of things that are not. So I just want to. My plan is to renew my faith in the Lord and come back to Him more than I have been in the last few months, which I think has been.
Yeah. Do you not think sometimes relationship with the Lord is sometimes like a diet? How many diets do you say you're going to start?
Yeah.
Like, and you do,
You
and
can
they
see
kind
I've
of
not
fall
done the
away.
diet.
That's definitely not what I was saying.
I would never put that past you. Pete would do that.
Yeah, he definitely hasn't dieted for a while. Okay, so
Better not have pizza tomorrow then.
yeah. So how can folks be praying for you at the moment then?
Yeah, I think it's easy to say pray for spiritual discipline and then just carry on, doing whatever you want. But like, I think I would really want prayer for that, for our family, my kids to know the Lord. There's signs that there's belief there, but again, it's scary to think to the future, and you see them growing up. They've grown up so much, even just over lockdown. The increasing sense of responsibility for them and their faith when the Lord has definitely got them and will work. But just pray for their salvation. Pray for us and our jobs. To health as well is another issue that keeps kind of battering us. Pete with his headaches, he quite often will just end up having to go back to bed or whatever for for a day or two, so that can really mess things up
Yeah.
ministry wise. But then again, that's the Lord at work in that, even though we don't want it. And me with my rheumatoid arthritis, although it's been so much better over the last year, it could go differently, in the future. So it's just trying to trust and just keep doing the next thing, one foot in front of the other, prayerfully, and not just what I think I should be doing. But this is a really long answer to your question. Basically, spiritual discipline, love for the Lord, kids' salvation.
Amazing. I'm sure everyone will be praying for that for you. So I think just before we finish up, I ask you just to have a think about what your favourite or one of your favourite Bible passages or verses may be. I'm hoping you've came prepared. I'm assuming you have.
I
since you
have
your
got my Bible open at the right width.
Okay.
See, before that, ask her if she's ever left her kids alone by themselves.
Okay. Tell me
Pete's really
the
helping me
time
look
you
good.
left your kids alone.
Yes, it was an accident. So I was having a kind of one-to-one with a girl in our, this is back at Cara Hill. Twins were 3 months old, something like that. So they were just teeny tiny, sleeping a lot, upstairs in their little swaddle things next to each other, like little sausages in their cot. And they'd been asleep for hours, and then Pete had talked about taking the 3 boys out. This is a long story. Talked about taking the 3 boys out for a walk in the pram, and I was like, all right, okay. So I had in my head he's taking them out, right? And then so this girl finished with her, and I was like, I could just give you a lift home. It's like, why can't I just give you a lift? So we got in the car, shut the door, locked it obviously, and off we went and took her home back to Springboig, and we were I chatted to her mum for 10 minutes.
Wow.
And then got back in the car, and I must have been out of the house for 20 minutes by that point, and as I was pulling up to roundabout, I just had this
This horrible
I am
feeling.
going to vomit. I would just realised what I've done. I have left the twins at home.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
So
I am the worst mother ever. And I started shaking uncontrollably and tried to phone Pete while I was driving. Shouldn't do that, but it was oh, what are we gonna do? I was like, have you got the twins? They're just talking nonsense. He's like, no. Why would I have the twins? It's like, I thought you took them for a walk. It's like, no, I said to you I was gonna leave them. I was like, oh no. So drove like an absolute maniac. They were fine. Long story short, I cried a lot. They cried a lot. But they were absolutely fine. Oh my goodness.
That's
Not my
definitely
proudest moment.
No, there's definitely a story that comes to mind on that, which we'll not touch on because it's Anyway.
Okay.
So thanks for adding that in, Pete.
I mean, I could add a lot more in, but that's one of the pinnacles.
The dancing bit.
Do the boys know this?
Actually, I don't know if they do.
We've
We've not talked about it. It's not that I've been hiding it from them. I just haven't
You
really.
just forgot.
Again, yeah.
Yeah, again, I forgot about it.
Okay. I think you should tell them and see if they judge you.
See, there is actually a stand that says, "What can a mother forget her child?" And I'm like, yes,
Brilliant.
that bit always gets me. I'm like, I did.
Is it bad that I'm not even surprised? Okay, right. So back to where we were. So your passes that you've prepared.
I find it really hard because I don't have
No, it's a hard one.
There
to
is a
answer.
verse I've picked, but it's
It's just one that comes to mind.
yeah, it's one that comes to mind. So there's tons that I feel like are well known that have been hugely influential on me. But I just wanted to read Isaiah 46 verse 4, which says, "I will be the same until this is God speaking. I will be the same until your old age, and I will bear you up when you turn grey. I have made you, and I will carry you. I will bear and rescue you."
Wow.
I just thought it kind of sums up a lot of who God is, the fact that I'm finite, He's infinite, until my old age. That kind of He's unchanging. I change. He doesn't. And He made me, and He will bring me to completion.
Great reminder. I mean, you're old just now anyway, so
Yeah.
you're currently living
I'm
that. so
actually
that's
kind of
great.
greying as well,
Yeah.
so
No.
people are probably going to say that anyway. But
Just get in there. No, fantastic. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, I'll just pray before we finish up then.
thank you.
Lord, thank you for this time. I thank you that we can use technology like this is an opportunity to share what great work you're doing in people's lives. And Lord, I just ask that you speak to anyone that's on the fence about you, soften their hearts, show them what it's like to walk with you, Lord. Show them grace as you would, and show them love. Lord, I just thank you for Cara. I thank you for everything that's going on in her life that's brought her to where she is today, and I thank you for the courage of coming on tonight and sharing her story. Lord, she clearly loves and trusts in you to make decisions in her life, and yeah, Lord, I'm so thankful for that. Just ask that you bless both of us for the rest of this week, and that she continues to love and be faithful to you. Lord, I just bring these things to you tonight in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
It was fun.
Thanks for having me.
There's actually one thing we've not done yet. Happy
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. You're totally correct.
birthday, dear Aunt. Happy birthday to you.
Look at you, you're totally
Thank you.
mortified.
Thank you. Thank you.
What age are you today, Aunt?
28.
Oh,
so it's not a baby.
Half Cara's age.
Just a
Yes,
baby.
yes. Although it would be so strange that I won't share that with anybody because I've just blown on it. Normally you'd be like getting on about the cake, but yeah.
Won't your wife have
I
a
mean,
bit?
I like it.
Is she like, no, you're blowing that?
No, I'm like they're both. That's my excuse to eat both of them. So yeah. Thank you. Thank you for listening to the My Hope Story podcast. To find out how you can have your own hope story, go to www.myhopestory.co.uk.